Hi, I'm Ryan Gupta and this is 5-Minute Theology. Today we will be doing part 2 of the question, what did Jesus write on the ground? I want to encourage you to look at part 1 so that you can have a better understanding of part 2. In part 1 we saw that when Jesus was writing on the ground, he was using the Jewish teaching method that is called remez. Now remember, remez in Hebrew means hint or clue. So remez is the key for us to understand what Jesus was writing on the ground. Because when Jesus was writing on the ground, he was giving them a hint or a clue to his answer to their question. Now let's read the passage and then make some observations. John 8:1, it reads, "But when Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, at dawn he appeared again in the temple courts, where all the people gathered around him. And he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, 'Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?' They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, 'Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her.' Again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older first, until only Jesus was left with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, 'Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?' 'No one, sir,' she said. 'Then neither do I condemn you,' Jesus declared. 'Go now and live your life of sin.'" Someone said that this story should be called the men caught in hypocrisy instead of the woman caught in adultery. Because here we see that these men who claim to uphold the law of Moses were actually breaking many at the same time. Let's observe. Observation 1. These men came to Jesus claiming to know the law of Moses. St. Augustine said that Jesus wrote on the ground to show them that he is a divine legislator. So what is Jesus doing here? When Jesus wrote with his finger, he is pointing their minds back to the Old Testament, to an event where God wrote with his finger. Let's look at it. Exodus 33:18. When he finished speaking with Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave him the 2 tablets of the testimony, stone tablets inscribed by the finger of God. There we see that God wrote the law with his finger. But did you know that God did it twice? After Moses broke the stone tablets, God wrote the law with his finger again. Look at Exodus 34:1. The Lord said to Moses, "Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke." In John, we see that Jesus wrote on the ground how many times? 2 times. Look at John 8:8. Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. So through this method of remez, Jesus is saying to them, "Hey, you guys are coming to me with the law. Can't you see that I'm the one who wrote the law? Can't you see I am God?" So what was Jesus writing on the ground? I believe that Jesus wrote words that were in the law concerning adultery. These words pointed to the laws that the Pharisees and the scribes had failed to fulfill in this matter. Let's look at the reasons for this conclusion. 1. This matter was about breaking the law. 2. The question they asked Jesus is a law question. 3. Jesus would often quote scriptures as his response. So at the end of the story, Jesus said to them, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." Because Jesus used the law to prove to them that everyone who was calling for her stoning was also breaking the law at that very moment. The way Jesus could show them that they were breaking the law was by showing them what the law really said. Observation 2. They were breaking the law by bringing the woman alone without the man who she committed adultery with. You see, the law required that both the man and the woman involved in the adulterous affair were to be brought for judgment and then killed. Look at Leviticus 20:10. The man who commits adultery with another man's wife, he who commits adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress, shall surely be put to death. In Deuteronomy 22:22, it reads, if a man is found lying with a woman married to another husband, then both of them shall die. At that moment, I believe Jesus wrote on the ground, man. Because Jesus was saying, where is the man that you caught her with? The law required that the man be brought to get a trial. So while Jesus is writing on the ground, the minds of the scribes and the Pharisees would begin to remember this verse. Also, there's a verse in Jeremiah that their minds would go to. Let's look at Jeremiah 17:13. O Lord, the hope of Israel, all that forsake thee shall be ashamed, and they that depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the Lord, the fountain of living water. Now look at Jeremiah 17:10, the same chapter. This is what it says. I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. So while Jesus is writing on the ground, their minds would go back to Jeremiah 17 that says that God will write the names of those who forsake him on the ground. But the same chapter says that God searched the heart and the mind and rewards each person according to what they deserve. What did the scribes and Pharisees deserve in this moment? Judgment, stoning, because God knew their hearts that they wanted to trap Jesus. God knew their hearts that this was a setup. God knew that they were breaking the law in this very moment. And they started to figure this out, that I deserve judgment. Observation 3, they were breaking the law by not presenting witnesses. The law states in Deuteronomy 17 that the guilty parties must be put to death on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, and that the hand of the witnesses shall be the ones to cast the first stone. Look at Deuteronomy 17:6-7. Whoever is deserving of death shall be put to death on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. He shall not be put to death on the testimony of 1 witness. The hands of the witness shall be the first against him to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So you shall put away the evil from among you. I believe Jesus also wrote the word witness on the ground. But that's not all. According to the law, someone could not just say that they're a witness, because a witness had to be examined to make sure they were not lying. And if they were lying, they would be condemned as a false witness and be stoned as well. Look at Deuteronomy 19:18-19. It reads, the judges must make a thorough investigation, and if the witness proves to be a liar, giving false testimony against a fellow Israelite, then do to the false witness as that witness intended to do to the other party. You must purge the evil from among you. So the scribes and the Pharisees were breaking the law because they did not present the witnesses to this event. So Jesus used the law to show the scribes and the Pharisees that they were breaking the law and they deserved the same judgment that they wanted the woman to deserve. You see, anybody who stepped forward there and said, I was a witness, then he would have been examined. And these guys knew that if they were examined, they would have been proven guilty. We know that the woman was not innocent because Jesus told her to go and sin no more. But Jesus is not turning a blind eye to sin here. He is simply doing what the law requires. It means he is being just and fair. If Jesus had said to stone the woman, then he himself would have broken the law. And we know that Jesus did not break any of the laws. He fulfilled them. So what can we conclude? We see that the people wanted to use the law to condemn the woman. Jesus knew that they were breaking the law at that very moment. So he used the law to show them they were not innocent and they deserved the same judgment that they wanted to give. By looking on the ground, they saw all the laws they were breaking and knew that anyone who cast the first stone should also be stoned. So Jesus here used the law to show them that they were breaking the law. Thank you for listening.